You know how sometimes you want to utilize your cat as if they were a pillow pet? You know how sometimes you look at your bank account and your conclusion is, my mere existence is not financially viable. You know how sometimes you just want to walk into the shower fully clothed, turn on the water steaming hot, sit in the bottom of the bathtub and cry until you're soaking wet? That sounds like it would be really nice and entirely cathartic. You know how sometimes when you think you've discovered the neatest thing in the world and you go to share it with a friend and they think it's borderline stupid, and then you question why you're friends with them at all. You know how sometimes you get really frustrated and you have no idea how to fix anything? So your plan is, I'm just going to let this frustration fester, and perhaps it will ferment into a flavorful fancy cheese. But then it doesn't. You know how sometimes you find yourself at a buffet and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you become this adrenalized competition maniac about who can eat the most food, and you challenge everyone around you and you belt out, eating is not touch football! It has always been winner take all. You know how we all go a little mad sometimes. You know how sometimes when you don't hear what someone said to you and you don't want to ask them to repeat it again, so you just smile and nod and maybe even chuckle, but then you can tell by their reaction that your reaction was entirely inappropriate and they probably just asked you a question or told you that their grandma died. You know how sometimes you see a commercial or an advertisement for a board game and it markets it describing having a family game night with said board game, and you think to yourself, do some families actually have family game night where they play games together? Because my family never even sat at the table to eat dinner together. You know how sometimes you feel like you're the king of the world? Woohoo! Woohoo! But then not so much when you don't get an Oscar. You know how sometimes you're just sitting and watching TV and then that commercial for peanut butter comes on, and before it's even over, you're violently sobbing on the couch because of this kid who makes his mom a peanut butter sandwich. You know how sometimes you have the overwhelming feeling to just download the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly soundtrack and the Pulp Fiction soundtrack and drive around blasting them in your car? You know how sometimes someone will be complaining to you about how embarrassed and lonely they are to be single on Valentine's Day, and you're just sitting there like, I'm single every Valentine's Day, and National Evaluate Your Life Day, which is on October 19th. So, you know how sometimes you go to a sports shop to buy running shoes and you see the wall of guns and you're like, wow, I could buy a gun right now. Not that I want one, but nothing is stopping me and I could own a gun. And then you just go try on shoes. I know that feel.